Hi. Right now I'm feeling a little bit of a clenching in my throat, burning in my belly, tightness in my jaw. There's a tension in my head, some thoughts connected to what am I doing right now? What is this? What I just did was a little bit of a demo of what it's like to identify sensations when I'm talking about feeling your feelings. So that's what we're talking about today. So I want to also be really clear that if you have been through trauma and certain levels of trauma, this concept may be really, really hard for you at first. And not to overwhelm yourself by doing too much too soon, right? So like if you're a person who is used to kind of cutting off or not feeling your feelings, or really working hard to suppress them, you do want to do this kind of slowly, right? Take it step by step, because I think that's what can kind of make people say things like, why would I want to feel my feelings? They're so inconvenient. They're overwhelming. It's just too much. That generally tells me that there's some kind of trauma there, or and not just trauma like, catastrophic trauma, but even attachment trauma. Things that happened with our caregivers that were distressing, that stayed with us, that maybe still stay with us today as adults. For a lot of us who've had maybe childhoods where our feelings were not validated, or we were told that they were too much, or we were told that we were too sensitive, we may feel like our feelings are not valid. We sort of are programmed to kind of suppress them, transform them, shut them down, shut them off. And so it can be really difficult to then reconnect to what it is that you are actually truly feeling. Part of the why here, so like why do we even have feelings to begin with, is that we do have a part of our brain, and again, little information about the brain is that there is a part of the brain that is connected to it's basically our threat system. So that if we are encountering something threatening, we have to make split-second decision about, what am I going to do? How am I going to protect myself? So in the literature and, kind of like psychology, when they talk about the fight, flight, or freeze phenomena, it's like they're always relating it to like a lion or something like that. Or, and I'm like, am I talking to that many people who are going to encounter lions? So let's make it about something more realistic. Let's say you're with your partner. Okay, interpersonal relationships, this kind of gets fired up too, right? So let's say you are having a conflict about something. For some of us, the fight, flight, or freeze response gets activated more quickly than for others, especially if we come from families where there was either a lot of interpersonal conflict or that was shut down real quick. And there was sort of like a message of that you are not able to feel your feelings and they're not valid and you need to be quiet and obey. But some of us also came from families where there was a lot of hostility and none of that, and it wasn't really contained. And so it could be really scary when an adult is screaming at you or it kind of seems like they're losing control. So we may have a hard time. So some of us may have a hard time with actually recognizing what our true feelings are without jumping into action, right? Which is what the fight, flight, or freeze response is really meant to do, right? We are interested in preserving our life. And so we will do things like our brain kind of switches into that mode when we feel like we are under threat. So sometimes if somebody is yelling at you or you find yourself yelling at someone else, whether it's your partner, a child, a friend, a colleague, even a stranger. I mean, this can happen in traffic, right? Yikes, I just thought about LA traffic, PTSD from that. The next step in identifying what the feelings are that I'm having or that you're having is to name it, right? So I was naming sensations like the kind of a burning, tingling, warmth, that kind of thing. Then I want to start thinking about what are the emotional labels that we have determined fit with what the sensations, right? So it might be some, I'm feeling alert right now, maybe slightly anxious, excited, motivated. There's a lot of energy going on in my body right now. But I'm also feeling a level of relaxation. I think that has to do with my being outside, and it's a beautiful day, and I also hear the birds. So specifically, I'm trying not to bring in the thoughts and the judgment, because here's the thing about identifying what you are feeling. We will immediately want to put thoughts to it because we are meaning-making organisms. We create stories, we make meaning out of things, and so part of that is, again, to make sense of our world and our stories and our place in the world. A lot of times, though, again, if we come from families where emotions were a difficult topic or not a topic at all, then we tend to skew our stories, have them be based more in what the sensations are telling us in the negative sense. So, I could say that the anxiousness and the tingling that I was feeling and the tightness means oh my God, I'm making this video. Who's going to care? There's 3 people watching. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares what I have to say. And I could go really down that spiral. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to go into the judgment yet, right? And so what feeling our feelings can actually do is it can actually kind of make space, make room for what's really going on. One of the things that people have been feeling during this whole pandemic time is just a huge sense of isolation and loneliness because we have been apart from each other for so long. Some of us more than others, depending on your risk tolerance. The next part of feeling your feelings, we could stop there and say, maybe it's that I was lonely. Maybe it's that I feel nobody cares, nobody's listening. Part of why I started putting out these videos is because I wanted to feel that connection with other people, and I think a lot of us did. So, this was one way to do that, is to kind of put some thoughts and feelings out there around what's happening in mental health. And since I have that knowledge and experience and expertise, I figured, why the hell not, right? Why not just do that, right? I think it would be a benefit to other people. So basically, we talked about feeling the sensations first, then naming what the feeling is actually called. And then the third step would be, when you do that, your brain moves from that threat system into more of the thinking system. And so we can then address distorted thoughts, negative cognitions, negative schemas, things like that. We can then address those with more clarity, right? So I can kind of say to myself with some self-compassion, which I guess would be really the third step of feeling your feelings, is, you know what? Actually, so what if only 3 people are watching? Those are 3 people that maybe are getting a benefit from it. And if you can help one person, that's great. And maybe this is really for you too, for me, I'm talking right now to myself, that, this is actually a great project to be taking on and doing, and you don't have to be perfect. Really, it's about bringing some good words out into the world, hoping to make it a better place as we sort of re-enter society, as if we were completely gone. I mean, things changed, right? As far as what we start with, there are 3 steps to the basics of feeling your feelings. It's sensations, right? Identifying the sensations. Number 2 would be identifying, naming the actual words that go with the feelings. And by the way, you can Google this, right? Feelings wheel or feeling terms, and get lists and and some of them are really beautiful, graphics of word feelings and things like that. Then the third piece would be self-compassion. After you feel that clarity of what's going on, if you have any thoughts about this, if you have ideas about this, if some of you are therapists that may be watching this and have some other, angles about feeling your feelings or other techniques, share them, please. I think that we can only help each other get to a kind of a better place with our mental health by working together. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for liking it, commenting, subscribing. I really do appreciate you.